The additional day probably doesn't lessen the sting of defeat, nor should it. You know, we've lost 2 close ball games here the last 2 weeks, and we've had our opportunity. And so, you know, there's a certain response that comes to that. You know, we recognize that football is our game, our business is winning. And so we haven't been handling business. And so we're taking a look at ourselves and looking at what transpired in the game, and I'll outline specifically what transpired kind of in San Francisco, most of which I kind of outlined after the game in terms of why we were not successful. The turnover element of play and the aftermath of it was significant, I thought. We got some significant turnovers at the early portions of the game. We put our offense on the short field, and we settled for field goals. And, you know, usually there's consequences of not supporting yourself in that way to really kind of maximize the positive. And so, although we were in control of the game, we were not in control of the game in the ways that we could have been had we punched some of those opportunities in. And then in the second half, we turned the ball over twice, and our defense was on the short field, and again, we didn't support ourselves in the ways that we would like to minimize negativity. Our defense took the field, and we gave up touchdowns. And couple that with the fact that, you know, we seemingly had an opportunity, particularly in the last possession, to get off. We had them in a third and 11 or so, and we had a penalty, a DPI. It's pretty frustrating. It's similar to Seattle when we got those guys off and we got a penalty on a field goal attempt that put us back on the field, and we subsequently gave up a touchdown. So obviously the penalty element of play is significant. We haven't been penalized a large number of times thus far this year, but some of the penalties have been significant in terms of the outcome of football games. So we're working hard in that area. We're also working hard in terms of making the necessary plays and winning our one-on-ones positionally in all 3 areas of the game. Obviously, the possession down element of play offensively was a problem for us early in the game, and that had a lot to do with us not being able to capitalize on some of the field positioning. We just in general have to do a better job of being competitive and winning our share of third downs. I thought we were really conscious and thoughtful to being third and manageable, but even at 3rd and 5 and 3rd and 6 and 3rd and 4, some of the things that we had in the first half of the game, it just took us too long to really warm up and win some of those possession downs. I think the first time we won one was in the last possession of the first half. And so we got to find ways to get off the bus cleaner and better. Obviously, establishment of the run will aid us in that, but also the winning of those downs, like we talked about last week, will provide more snap opportunities for us in an effort to find fluidity in the running game. Obviously, we dealt with some things in game from a player availability standpoint that made all of those things a little bit more difficult. Vance McDonald went down in game. Xavier Grimble went down in game. Larger part of the second half of the game. The only tight end we had available to us was Zach Gentry, and coupled with the unavailability of Roosevelt Nix, man, we really were limited in terms of some of the things that we could do offensively, particularly as it regards to running the football.